Welcome to the episode of Love and Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are 13 days away from our Love is Blind Season 5 weddings, and this has been one of the wildest and craziest seasons to date. I break down everything that happens in episode 8. Man, we have been in for a treat, and we pick up right where we left off in episode 7 with Uchi talking to Milton. Uchi says he didn't say a word to Milton about Lydia and his relationship with her versus her saying all the things that he did to Aaliyah. Again, who cares? I wish Milton would just tell him to pound sand and move on. Milton stands there and just listens. Lydia comes over and pulls Milton away. And as he does that, Uchi says to the camera that if Milton says yes at the altar, it'll be the biggest mistake of his life. Uchi is going around telling the rest of the show that Lydia knew that she was going to be on the show. He followed her. He said either she knew or she has supernatural powers. Everyone is listening to this clown and kind of rolling their eyes. All the girls stand up for Lydia, and yet he continuously interrupts. Stacy stands up and talks about how Lydia stood there for Aaliyah and broke down about how he was just overreacting over the cheating. He starts telling other people to shut up. They start talking over each other. He starts walking away. Like, what is going on? Miriam, he yells at Miriam for being bitter. Uchi's raising his voice, saying Miriam is here for the cameras. And my God, like, Miriam stands up and says, I'll read you for the filth you are. Like, holy shit, you slay, queen. Like, please, finally somebody on this show stood up and gave him the business. Like, no matter how you feel about Lydia, Uchi, this scenario, the thing about it is if you want to confront Lydia about what she said to Aaliyah, that's fine. But we're done. We're past the past. We've moved on. We're bigger and better things right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where we've moved to bigger and better things. Milton and Lydia are getting married in 13 days, but you're still harping on this over and over and over again. Let's see here. Lydia is talking to the girls about Uchi and how he cheated on her, but won't tell anyone that. Joni sits down to ask Lydia about knowing that he was going to be on the show. Uchi's talking to Milton about the messages he's been getting from girls on Instagram about him stalking her on social media. He said he doesn't want it to affect their relationship. Shut up. Yes, you're trying to turn his mind the other way. He said she planned on meeting him in this experiment, and if it was fate. Milton tried to say that they're trying to move past things, and this is situational. He breaks down how things are different and how they're on a different parallel. Like Milton saying, hey, this is her past. That was the past that she was moving on. We are in a situation now where this is where we're going. We're in a different dynamic. Uchi and Lydia over here, Milton and Lydia are on this path of forward progress. Uchi says he doesn't want her, about her past, and he said no. And Uchi asked Milton if he cares about her past, and he said no. He said there's communication is great and he is happy. That's where it should have stopped. Right here. Milton breaking Uchi down. I love this man. That 24, 26-year-old man showed more maturity in this moment than Uchi did throughout this entire show. Uchi said you have 2 or 3 weeks left. Izzy's talking to Chris, and then Izzy, and my goodness, like, Izzy just wants drama. He said he shouldn't have ran his mouth. Izzy says that Joni said that she loved him 4 times. Like, Izzy, worry about yourself. Shut the fuck up. Stacey walks in. She kind of hops in. She's like, I was hoping to stay out the drama. Stacey calls out Joni for being full of shit. Joni and Stacey get into an argument how they acted in the girls' room. This is insane. Like, please stop being so dramatic. Like, this is fucking stupid. Like, who cares? Carry on with both of yourselves. Everybody should have been a lot better about themselves. Stacey and Izzy leave, go and talk more shit. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, if you're happy with Izzy, and if Izzy's happy with you, stay out of their business. Who cares? You said what you said. No, let's move on. We all know each other for like 3 weeks here. Not even that. People in the pods, this is the first time seeing most of each other. Milton comforts Lydia. That's a fucking man, folks. I love Milton, and he didn't let the moment fuck him up. Instead, he comforted his woman and carried on. Stacey snaps at Izzy about Joni. The thing about this is where the respect factor for me for Stacey went a long way. Stacey in the moment stood up and stood next to her man. She didn't waver. She didn't say, hey man, shut the fuck up or anything like that. She said, I'm standing next to Izzy. Joni, you're this, you're that. Y'all carry on with your life. However, when they got put to the side, it's just them two. She goes, who cares? You know what I mean? She's like, it's about Joni, not about Chris. And she's like, she's right. He is upset about Joni and not Chris. He's like, and she sees right through it. He said, I saw you railroad Joni and it turned them on, is what he said. Izzy says to Stacey, said, I saw you railroad Joni and it turned him on. Stacey said she wants to feel more loved by Izzy and wants to see more affection. She also mentions Joni being over here for being over her in the pods for a long period of time. She also said that it's more talk with him instead of actions. In the pods, he said he would cook for her, give her massages, et cetera, and he hasn't done anything like that. She's trying to communicate, and he's being defensive. Another thing that I've noticed, again, anytime that she's critical of what she of him, his defense mechanism is always fire back with insults. Like, don't talk shit the pods and say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You have 3 weeks to prove that you're this human being. Like, this is the man that you talked you're going to be. That's the person you have to be outside of the pods leading up to this marriage. This is a short time frame that she needs to see you be the man that you said you were going to be and be the man that she's going to be with the rest of her life. Period. End of story. Izzy said she makes him feel like I'm not enough for you. Like, flipping the script. Like, this is like typical work from somebody in this scenario. It has nothing to do with it. Hold up your end of the bargain, period. She tells the camera she is sick of the excuses and wants to feel the love that she's giving. She comes to talk to him and he tells her to go away. He says, I don't feel like I'm good enough for you. Stacey walks out. Like, she doesn't say this, but it was like, I ain't falling for that guilt trip, homie. Milton talks to Lydia that his perception is different about it. Asks if her perception talks to Lydia that his perception is different about Lydia than Uchi's, and that's that. He tries to explain she should control her emotions a little better. She explains that she needs to be better at that. She thanks him for being there, and he jokes with her and says, do you think I'm the most mature guy? And she says yes. We get to see Stacey in action during her Pilates class. Izzy says that he and Stacey haven't talked much today, and his feelings are hurt about the situation. He showed up to her work to talk about the conversation. He asked where her head was at. She said she's cloudy. He talked about how he has put in his best efforts and feels underappreciated. She says the things I do, she wants to be reciprocated. She wants to ensure that he is the guy that he says he is before they walk down the aisle. They kiss and kind of make up and say some nice things. We see Izzy cleaning up the house as his mom's coming to visit. Stacey's meeting his mom today, the most important person in his life. They talk about his and Stacey's relationship, and they've stuck it out and fixed their issues instead of running away. He said she isn't easy and tough to deal with, but worth it. I just feel like that's some weird things to say out loud about your significant other. We have the typical mom and significant other back and forth questions, relationship, whether love is real or not. Stacey talks up Izzy and says a lot of nice things. I love these folks who meet someone for like 5 seconds. Says, I know this person is going to be so great for my son or daughter. They're just so fantastic. Shut up. Just stop. Like, who cares? Like, if you want to be honest, like, be honest about it. Like, I'm skeptical. I'm hopeful. It's my daughter. It's my son. I don't want them to be sad. I don't want them to be heartbroken. I'm still skeptical. It's been 3 weeks, etc. Like, come on. Milton is talking to Lydia, taking Lydia to meet his family. We meet Milton's mom, Rita, and James, his father. Everyone calls him Little James at the house. She explains she's from Puerto Rico, breaks down her career path. Milton's sister says their mom will be doing an FBI listing about her before she leaves. This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Like, how Milton's family acts is exactly how I feel like I would act if my kid was in the situation. His dad brings up talking about why she did this. She says she's talking about her last relationships. Milton is trying to open a bottle of wine with his teeth in the background, which is hilarious. His ages get brought up. She said that Milton is very mature and loves him for his personality and his maturity. His mom asked what she doesn't like about Milton. His mom didn't know that they were living together. She said he likes to leave the plates on the couch. She mentions he's kind of lazy. And her mom says he can change that. He's young. Very true. His sister is roasting him with questions. He pleads with her to chill out. Her sister calls the whole thing phony. This is like, it got completely weird and awkward. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like, there's question marks. There's going to be question marks. Like we saw that with Kwame and Chelsea. That's the stuff that's realistic and real life to me. Not to that extent, maybe, but at the same time, I feel like that's, Rita asked to speak to Lydia on their own. She had said, looking at her resume, she's qualified to be Milton's wife, but her performance must back up her resume. Lydia mentions that Milton isn't the first guy to treat her like a queen, is the first treat and hold her tight. He texts her when he is doing an overnight shift that she loves you. They say it feels scripted. And she says, I am loud, funny, and really comfortable. I'm really comfortable to be around. They ask if he wanted to chase his PhD, what she would do. She said, I will support him if he did that. She wants to get her dream job as an environmentalist. She wants to know how important it is. Lydia wants to know how important it is for them to name their kid James Milton Johnson for the fifth, for their next child. His mom does see him becoming more of a man. Lydia says, she isn't here to play games. His sister said she doesn't know. She doesn't see it yet. And that's it for episode 8. We're finally getting to the relationship aspect of things and breaking down the couples and what they're doing, how they're doing it. We're getting the family dynamic in here. We've only got 2 episodes left. So let's go ahead and dive into episode 9.